Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today, we are discussing Farscape, Season 2, Episode 16, The Locket. Aaron and John get caught in a time travel sort of situation. How did you find this episode?
I like it a lot.
Okay.
What about you?
As you may have guessed from my enthusiasm, not really a big fan of this one.
Ah. Well, on you go. Why do you hate it? Why is it the worst?
Well, maybe you should talk about what he likes, because if I just tear it down, then this will become a negative podcast.
I'm a sucker for disjointed or mismatched aging timelines. It's a common plot device, but it's still really interesting. It's just so accessible as a human. This idea of living an entire life in a day, and then other people don't age at all. It's just not. It's so divorced from the human experience, or at least for now, that it's fun to think about.
I like that idea. Now that you mention it, it's something I like. There's an anime movie called Voices of a Distant Star, which I highly recommend checking out, which approaches that subject in quite a unique way. I didn't feel this episode represented it strongly.
No, it didn't. But it's a very sci-fi plot, and it's there. It's more than not exploring it.
Drifting apart in time is like the next dimension from drifting apart in space. It's a touching subject and a good subject for sci-fi, but I didn't think they capitalized on it in this episode at all, and instead this episode does one of my least favorite tropes.
Reset button?
Well, the reset button that you can see from the first 10 seconds of the episode.
As soon as you see an aged Aaron, you know they're probably not going to reverse age, although that could be a thing. It's going to be all reset somehow.
That's not it. That's you're right. That's annoying to me. Only because it kind of weakens everything dramatically. But no, what I don't like is when characters grow older as the episode progresses, because you invariably have some exciting thing that they have to do, but they have to do it slowly because they're so old. But then it's not exciting.
John running through the hallway as an old man. I don't know if I was supposed to be laughing, but I was laughing.
Oh, jeez, it doesn't work at all.
It looks really silly.
There's no tension. Although interesting, he said a sweary word.
He did?
Yeah. Right before the hilarious staggering around scene, he said, "I'm getting too old for this shit."
Oh, right.
Did I say on the podcast? Because it was in the episode, so that's fair enough, I guess. They were gonna dub it over with "I'm too old for this ship."
Yeah.
And then they forgot to, which is good, because that would have been worse.
That would have been much worse. Usually I hate that line because it's a cliche, but I like it here because John is constantly referencing pop culture. That is a tired line that you hear everywhere. I don't know if Lethal Weapon started it, but I know it popularized it. And so I like this idea that he's comforting himself. Oh yeah, that old tired line, because only he's hearing it, and He says stuff from movies and TV shows all the time. Or not lines, but he references stuff.
Like many people in our society today, pop culture is like a safety blanket.
Yeah, so it works for John, for me, in that scene.
So, yeah, the reasons I don't like this episode very much are big reset button, everyone's getting older, and it's kind of not, I don't like that. And just generally doesn't make any sense. The plot of this episode makes no sense.
I don't understand what Zan and Stark were doing, how that works.
I don't know. I think that's about the point where I gave up on life.
Oh, I'm going to slide right past that. The reintroduction of Stark has to be the clunkiest thing I've seen this show do.
There's a reason for that, but continue.
I don't remember his line exactly, but it was the worst, clumsiest piece of dialogue. Hey, remember that transport pod that you lent to me so that I could escape from the thing? It was really bad. No one would talk like that.
That was a scene that was cut from near the end of season 1. Stark thanked them for rescuing him, and they gave him a transport pods, and he wandered off into space on his own.
Okay.
But they cut that, so he was just in an episode in season 1, and then in the next episode he just wasn't there anymore.
I forgot to bring that up, but I remember wondering where he was.
Because he's Ace.
Well, he makes a strong impression, and then there's no indication that he's gone anywhere. That episode ends where he's just on the ship, and you think, okay, I'll see him next time. But nope.
Yeah, it feels like he's just hiding in a cupboard or something.
Yeah.
He's going to pop out and go, my side, your side, my side, your side. No, he left, and now he's returned with actually interesting stuff. For all that, I don't really like the bulk of the timeline story stuff. I welcome the reintroduction of Stark. Who knows if he'll disappear again.
Yeah, I expect him to disappear without a mention, and then next season he'll just pop up again.
Like a bad penny.
Yep, he always turns up.
And we got news about Dargo's son.
Yeah, that's a development I'm not invested in at all and don't care about. And every single time we've talked about Jothi, we've laughed about it, or at least I have.
He's filed in the annals of ugly alien sci-fi children. But he looks like a sort of teenager now. Or a young adult.
As he should.
Yes.
Unlike Dargo's vision of him, which didn't make sense.
Yeah,
He's still a child.
Still a child.
Maybe that's why he stared at the picture for so long. He was wondering why he wasn't still a child.
he has object permanence, but not like temporal object permanence. So he's like, no, my son is a young boy. He's about 5 years old.
He doesn't understand time. That's why this event was so confusing for him.
Yeah. I don't like Dargo's reaction. I chalk it up to the whole episode just being a mess, but in my opinion, I don't like the way he reacted by raging out on Stark.
It seemed out of nowhere.
It seemed out of character for Dargo.
That's more what I meant to say.
He's not like a roid rage guy. Sometimes he is, but usually he's just very sort of strong-willed and kind of passionate. I would have preferred to see him break down in tears and like hug Stark or something, you know.
Right. He has information. He's made progress in his search. He should be ecstatic. He's not aimlessly drifting in space. it will still, but he has a lead. That's a good thing.
I get he's angry about the slavery thing, but what did he expect Stark to do exactly?
Use his face to stop it.
I love his face. I love that face effect.
Speaking of effects, but this one a practical one. I usually hate old people makeup, but I didn't find it so bad in this episode. I didn't mind looking at old Aaron.
There's a reason.
So what's the reason? Why does it not look terrible?
The old age makeup is typically done with foam, or was at least in the era Farscape was made. As in, they would make foam pieces of like wrinkled skin and stuff and glue them onto the actor's face. It doesn't look great. But for this episode, they used a new technique that Jim Henson's Creature Shop was trying out called Hot Flesh, which is some kind of sculpted gel or something that goes on the skin.
That's a gross name for it, but I
Yeah,
like how it looks on screen.
I was just confirming that's what it's called because I wasn't sure I noted that down correctly. But yeah, Hot Flesh. Google for it. I'm sure you'll find lots of information.
One thing I didn't like about old John was his voice. It was so goofy, and that was distracting.
How he had turned more southern.
Yeah, why would he regress?
Is that an age thing? He sounded more like his dad.
Oh, I don't know enough about that.
About what? Linguistic changes due to age?
Yeah. I don't know if that's a thing. Maybe you just start talking like your dad.
I don't know, but I would bet it's probably not a thing, but language advances. So as you grow older, the way you speak becomes more outdated.
Sure.
That doesn't mean someone would turn it into a country bumpkin if they went old.
I can imagine John just doing it for fun and then he got stuck.
Okay.
He did it to entertain himself. He's stuck on that planet for 50 yarns with only Aaron as a person he knows.
50 cycles, not hours. Hours are hours.
Oh, whoops.
55, it's all unit news.
My units are rusty.
That is... I'm just thinking of, there's a kilogram?
Yeah?
Like the original kilogram. And it has to be kept in a perfectly sealed container.
Okay.
Because it could go rusty.
Yes, that's the illusion I was making.
Ah.
It's not.
Okay, damn. The whole stuff with them getting old on the planet was not fleshed out at all.
No, they leaned heavily on the chemistry between Ben Browder and I forgot her name.
I'm tempted to just say a random name and see if you notice, but it's Claudia Black.
There we go. They are convincing together. They play off each other really well.
Yeah.
And I can see why they had that scene where, hey, let's not have any dialogue. Let's just have some music playing because these two look great together.
Considering the screen time, they were right to lean on the chemistry. The scene where they're discussing whose face is in the locket and John's just like, maybe I won't open it. It was pretty nice.
That scene is nice. And then when Aaron first comes back as old Aaron and she talks about, oh, I forgot how beautiful your face was. That's really touching and sweet. And then John talking aloud to dead Aaron. All that works really well.
It does. I personally didn't think it sustained the rest of the stuff about being stuck in a time problem. Center Halo, I think that's what they called it. They didn't go too heavy on the jargon, but see, technobabble isn't just jargon. Like, jargon is a real serious problem. If you have a script that's just thick with, invert the tachyon pulse beam radar, microwave oven. That's terrible. That should never happen. But you also shouldn't just make up a bunch of stuff and then not just use simple terms to explain it. It could be just as bad, I think, to do that sort of thing.
It was a shortcut. All they wanted was, all right, how do we age some characters, and what is the path of least resistance to that? But I can tell they weren't even convincing themselves during the first mind boogie between Zan and Stark. There are a lot of shots of the cup of water moving around as if to distract us from, hey, this doesn't make any sense. Just look at this cup.
I don't know if they know what time is. Like, if time stopped and then started again, you wouldn't consciously be aware of it because your brain is a physical object that relies on time to be active. Okay, that's a minor gripe. Here's the same problem in a bigger way. When they're all freezing up and they're yelling at each other like, oh no, we're freezing.
Yeah.
Right, talking is also a physical process.
Well, Zan saying, I can't move, but then she's moving while she's saying that. She's moving her arms and body. Only Dargo was actually frozen.
He was talking whilst he was frozen as well. A little bit, not much.
Right.
It wasn't going off on one, but he did say, I can't move, or something.
Yeah.
And then John has to go press a button to trigger a thing, but so buttons can still move? But I thought time was frozen. How
None of that makes sense.
John even walk through the air particles?
That solution was really inelegant, I'll give you that.
They also tried to wedge in I don't know what to call it, like where they have two choices. Should we go forwards or backwards in this case?
Oh, the metaphor?
No, like sometimes the characters will be faced, they have two choices, like
Dilemma?
yeah, it's like a dilemma. So there's like, I don't know, two escape vehicles and they don't know which one to get in to escape from the bank robbery. And they have to just choose. And
Right.
Wager everything on it. Which is frustrating because they always choose the right one. Well, not always, but commonly they do. And so they had this should we go forwards to the planet or backwards to out of the mist? What was the point of that? Because then they just sort of said, well, should we? And then they were all like, yeah, okay, let's go backwards. Pilot, who was the one who's actually in control, kind of, I guess he was just like, oh, okay, well, if everyone voted on it. Which kind of is like what Pilot would do, I suppose.
Pilot has no spine. I don't know about literally, but...
He may not have a spine.
Yeah, he may not have any spines.
Oh, yeah, he might have multiple spines. They never leveraged the one thing that would make sense, which is if they said to Maya, sure, you can go forwards towards the planet and you'll be safe, but you'll never see Talon again.
Oh, that would have been good. I don't like that they forced it on Moya. They should have had to... I would think Moya could override that. Hey, I don't care that you pressed a button. I'm not doing this.
That's what was surprising to me. Pilot stated, no, we're going to go forwards. Backwards is stupid. He was quite strong about it. He was quite insistent. And then they just discussed it, and I guess they told Pilot because they went backwards. But it didn't seem like the sort of thing he would budge on unless they added some new information other than, yeah, we all want to go backwards.
He gave in for no compelling reason.
Yeah, and off screen. For all that I've said that this episode was a mishmash of stuff that didn't really gel together well and didn't make much sense, I'm now going to contradict everything I've just said and say that I liked the end when Aaron opened the locket and it was full of crumbs.
Big fan of crumbs?
I don't know what you want me to say.
I just want you to be honest with me.
I like that there was no, oh, well, this is clearly because of an inverse chronometric graviton wave. No explanation. They just said, oh, that's weird.
While it is annoying to have the big reset button and then everything is wiped from most of the characters' minds, I'm glad John and Aaron don't remember anything, because that would feel like cheating for their relationship. That's not fair that these characters can live and grow old together and then go back to being young when their relationship is still developing and new. I would really hate that.
It would I would either completely break the character drama because they'd be completely different people.
Yeah.
Or it would just make no sense because they go back to being themselves. So what was the upshot of this? I guess Zan and Stark remembers what happened.
The upshot is I like imagining really old John hanging out with his visions of Scorpius.
Yeah, Scorpius briefly appeared. Which shows I was right. He doesn't know he has a chip in his head.
He was really casual about it. He had grown to the point where he accepted it. This is just part of my life. I see Scorpius and I talk to him.
Sad in a way.
He always has a buddy. He's never alone.
Great.
It wouldn't make sense for Scorpius or the episode or for any reason, but I thought it would be funny if I'm just going to call him Harvey to distinguish between.
Yeah, Harvey will be clear.
It would be funny if Harvey gave up on John when he was on that planet, because he's stuck there, he's aging, he's old, can't escape, he's not going to get that information. Just resign to that idea and then joke around with him, be his pal.
Oh, just be chums. Hey, the garden's looking really nice.
Yeah,
oh,
why not?
Hey, Scorpius.
That's not in keeping with Scorpius's character, but I liked thinking about it.
If that stuff had been more developed, they maybe would have done something like that. The path to getting to that situation was so convoluted that it took up far too much time, I think.
It did strike me as odd. Well, I guess it's not odd. Scorpius is persistent, but he was still talking about the wormhole information in John's head when he was however old.
He's just a chip. He's sophisticated, but he's got, I guess, a program or something.
Yeah, he's programmed not to get bored. Give up hope.
Can I just rage about a couple more things?
Yes, please.
Okay, so John keeps his comm badge in a pot for 55 years and it works perfect. Okay, fair enough. They're durable, long-lasting, reliable.
That part is pretty stupid, but yeah, go on.
Fair enough. I don't mind things being kind of stupid, considering we don't really know how they're made, the comm badges, so who can say. But then, 3 scenes later, Zan has to tell them to not go into the cloud, and her comm badge doesn't work. Just suddenly, for no apparent reason.
Just to ratchet up the drama.
Yeah, and Stark's one, if he's got one, that doesn't work either. Who knows why?
When that happened, I thought, I made up a reason in my head because I didn't like how they did that. And I thought it had to do something with manipulating time, and that warped the badges somehow. And they were the source of that distortion. So the badges closer to them were affected. That's
at least an idea. I don't know. There was no explanation, and there didn't need to be one. They ran there to the bridge and got there with loads of time left. Said stop, and they said, "Okay, let's stop."
It was needless. They should have just, okay, we're back. Warn everybody on the badge right before she already has a foot in the pod or something, and then she hears it over the badge. Oh, okay, don't put the other foot in.
There's also a string of weird coincidences that caused them to not be eternally stuck in a zero-time vortex.
Such as?
Well, Stark and Zan being able to share Unity, causing John to do a thing, causing them to remember that the thing happened.
You lost me.
This episode lost me. For all that I've raged about it, it's not unwatchable. I happily watched it. There are way worse episodes, but I would have preferred a more focused plot and something that made a bit more sense. I know it's sci-fi and that things are weird and they add stuff that doesn't make sense, but it should have rules that I can follow.
It sounds like the wasted potential is what frustrates you the most.
Oh, so much!
There is a better episode buried in this idea.
I've seen the similar ideas on different shows that have been very, very good. And definitely Drifting Apart in Time is something that can be incredibly touching and sad, as you said. Well, you didn't say that, but...
It's a poignant idea.
Do you have a timeless quote for us today?
And let me assure you, whatever the risk, it is worth getting your life back.
That touches on something that could have been a good point for the episode.
They didn't take enough risks to make a better episode?
In a meta way, yeah. They probably should have taken more risks. They played this one too... they tried to make too much sense when they should have been concentrating more on what is good drama. And willing to do something dangerous just to go back to your life. I mean, John's life isn't that great on Moya.
He loves it, though.
His entire purpose is... The only thing that keeps him going is the hope that he'll get back to Earth, though. It doesn't sound that great. I'm not saying he has a bad life, but... Well, maybe I am saying that. He kind of has a bad life. He's being hunted by a bunch of crazy people with far too much dangerous stuff and living as an outcast with a bunch of crazy people.
But he has fun adventures.
So how bad was the planet?
I know it didn't seem that bad. His biggest complaint was that there's too much gardening.
Yeah, which, okay, that's kind of boring, but they have...
He really hates gardening.
They have books, surely. Literature, theatre. They have spaceships, so I guess they have films and stuff. Did it just have absolutely no culture at all? Why was it so bad that he was willing to risk it all? I would like to know. I would like to know what drove, or what would drive John to encourage his friends to do really, really dangerous things so he can resume his fairly miserable existence on Moya.
Well, he has to return to Moya to be able to return to Earth, so it's part of that chain.
He wasn't selling it that way.
No, because that's not compelling to them. That's only compelling to him.
No, it didn't seem like he even wanted to go back to Earth. When he was talking about going back to his old life, he was talking about Moya. I mean, I guess maybe it was one step at a time, but I don't know. I think you're right. There's a good episode buried somewhere here.
It was distorted by messing with time.
It's time to go on to the next episode.
Let's move forward.
Yes. See what you did there.
I see what you did.
Okay.
Right here.
Then we're even.
We are both good at seeing things that people did there.